These ghostly silhouettes of strange shape and form are all that now remain of once huge land formations. Dwindled away over thousands of years, they serve as a constant reminder that the forces of nature are always at work, not only building up the land, but wearing it down as well. Water, wind, ice, and even plants and animals all play their part in turning the mightiest of mountains into the tiniest grains of sand. How does the surface of the earth wear down? There are several major processes which cause the earth to wear down. They are physical weathering, chemical weathering, and erosion. Each process contributes its own part in disintegrating the face of the earth. Physical weathering is the actual breaking down of rock by the action of natural forces, such as water, wind, plants, and animals. But how do these forces wear down rock? Here we see trees growing out of what appears to be a solid granite rock. Actually, their roots are penetrating tiny cracks in the rock. As the trees continue to grow, their roots will further extend and enlarge the cracks, eventually fragmenting the rock, just as these roots have done to this rock. Probably the most common cause of physical weathering is due to the constant freezing and thawing of water in and around the rocks themselves. Let's take a look at a simple experiment which shows how liquid water expands when it turns to solid ice. We fill this plastic measuring cup with water up to the top mark. We want to make sure that we use a plastic container and not a glass container. We'll now take our cup of water and place it in the freezer. Here it will sit undisturbed for several hours. Later, when we view the cup, we find that the water has turned to ice and that it has expanded almost 10%. We note that it has increased in size both upward and outward, and has actually cracked the plastic cup. But how does freezing water affect rocks? Water frequently collects on rocks and gets into their small openings. When temperatures drop below freezing, the water in these cracks turns to ice and expands. This exerts a tremendous amount of pressure on the openings in these rocks. As temperatures rise and the ice melts back into its liquid form, it creeps deeper into the fractures. When the water freezes again, it further expands the openings in the rock. This cycle will go on day after day, year after year, until finally a once huge mountainside could disintegrate to a pile of small rock fragments. The second kind of weathering is called chemical weathering. Chemical weathering causes changes in the rocks from the reaction of different chemicals on the surface of the rocks. One common example of chemical weathering is called oxidation. If we were to leave an iron nail in a cup of water for a few weeks, a chemical change takes place. The nail gradually becomes coated with a dark red substance we call rust. Rust is oxidized iron. Here we see the difference between a shiny new nail and an oxidized nail. This rusting or oxidation deteriorates any surface on which it reacts and will eventually cause it to break down and fall apart. The mineral iron is present in many different kinds of rocks, and oxidation can break down these rocks if they're exposed to water for long periods of time. But are there other ways in which rocks can chemically weather? These rocks are covered with a plant called lichen. They illustrate another example of how the chemical weathering process takes place. The lichen actually secrete a mild acid which can dissolve or eat away the surface of the rock. Carbonic acid, a mild corrosive agent, can form when water and carbon dioxide combine naturally in the air or below the earth. Underground caverns like this are one of the most spectacular examples of the effects of weathering caused by carbonic acid. This cavern started out as small openings below the Earth's surface where water seeped in. The water combined with carbon dioxide from decaying plant material in the soil to form carbonic acid. As this acid dissolved the rock around it, the pockets gradually grew in size. The force of gravity, combined with underground streams, carried the dissolved rock fragments away until finally a huge cavern was formed. This, along with the continuous seeping water, caused the cavern formations to grow even stranger as time passed. Weathering is just one part of the natural breaking down process that has been occurring for millions of years. Once rock has disintegrated into many smaller pieces, it frequently is washed, blown, or carried away. This process is known as erosion. Water, wind, ice, and gravity serve as the great natural forces that transport the weathered material and further wear down the surface of the earth.